Hi, my name is Kirk Hamilton, your host of the Staying Healthy Today show. This is a show to bring you key experts in the fields of nutrition, prevention, integrative, and lifestyle medicine. I like doing interviews uh, live, or sometimes sometimes language barriers or distance, they'd rather do it in print, which is what is happening this evening. And then I review the literature in nutrition, prevention, integrative medicine, and also I have a section on cancer and COVID syndrome, I call it, all aspects of COVID, and then societal and world health. And so tonight, the title of the interview I did was Did the COVID vaccine increase mortality from all causes compared to those not vaccinated between April 21 and May 23 in the United Kingdom? An interview with Jarle Aarstad, PhD. He is a professor of economics, so he's a numbers man, and he puts the numbers together with regards to excess mortality, overall mortality, disease incidence. And he is a professor at the Western Norway University of Applied Sciences in Bergen, Norway. And the article that he wrote was entitled Mortality Involving and Not Involving COVID-19 Among Vaccinated versus Unvaccinated in England between April 21 and May 23. And the journal is F1000 Research 2025. And I have a link to the article and to the PDFs, and then you can eventually look at the graphs. But the bottom line was this: when he started the study, he observed initially that there was a protective effect with vaccination. And with further analysis, so it didn't seem to make sense. And he believes that that protection was really due to the ill health of the unvaccinated. They were generally a more unhealthy population. And with time, as the study went on through that time period, he found that those who were vaccinated had a greater overall mortality than those who weren't, which was surprising to some, not to me, but to some. So the question was what caused it? And in there, he believes that the vaccine is probably the reason. He doesn't have a medical explanation, whether it be the spike protein or contaminated with viruses or things like that. So this article is very well done. It's several pages. You can read through it pretty quickly. It's posted below. The main message was that with time, those who were vaccinated had an increased mortality compared to those who didn't take the vaccine. So we'll leave that at that. And he thinks it's probably due to the vaccine, as I do, and many other people. So in the newsletter, and continuing in the newsletter, I have a section on highlights, and one of them is kind of related to that. It was one of the links is to Dr. Paul Merrick and Doctors Justice Hope, and they did an article regarding turbo cancer, and they do a great review of this in their article, and there's a link to that. There's a whole belief system, not a belief system, some things that are occurring that we're seeing an increased rates of cancer since the COVID vaccination came out, and COVID, but in particular the COVID vaccination. And many believe there's factors in the COVID vaccines that may be the cause of this. The turbo cancer would be a cancer that happens sooner, quicker, causes rapid progression, happens in younger people, and is something that people are noticing and occurring. And so the term called turbo cancer. So I highly recommend that article. There's a link there. And then in my new nutrition and prevention integrative part, the medicine part, I'm always, I guess, because I'm getting older, and every time I have a skip in memory, I, worry about, am I sleeping enough? Am I getting enough exercise? Am I, making sure I'm not eating any sugary foods? And so there was a excellent article on aging and just picking up the pace of your walking and improving your health. And then there was Alzheimer's disease biomarkers, not just in the blood, but with regards to muscle strength. Strengthening of muscles is something that definitely helps the brain. We know that aerobic exercise increases BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which helps build new axons in the brain. It's very good for the brain. There's another one here that I really liked, was on cognition and bicycling. So I'm a walker. I'm not a bicycler, but I always think of my brother who rides every day. Gosh, probably to work for the last 50 years in recreation. And there's something additive to being on a bike with the aerobic exercise. What maybe it's balance, maybe it's coordination. Who knows? And then there's always an article about sleep and reducing dementia risk. Um, there's a lot about the vaccine schedule. I have there's three main Substacks that I don't say the only ones I use, but there's a lot that I use, and I would say for vaccine issues, it would be Dr. Peter McCullough, the Focal Point Substack with Dr. John Leake and Nicholas Hulser. Excellent. They put out just a plethora of information on COVID vaccine, dangers, risk factors, all the newest articles. And then I have always a section on COVID, cancer, and a lot of links to Dr. William Max's work, a radiation oncologist, because I have treated myself with parts of his protocol. But there's a lot there. If you review, I mean, I don't know how he finds the time to write all these cases up, but they're daily. They're daily. There's got to be, I don't know, at least 10 a week that he puts up. And the good thing is you can read the summary of them, and then at the very end there's a kind of an encapsulation, and that's where you see consistently over and over again. The triad of ivermectin and either fenbendazole or mebendazole, maybe CBD oil and melatonin, and then if you choose to have a session with him, there's other nutraceuticals, but his case studies are really profound and give a lot of hope. So I have a section there. And then lastly, there's another area of, we can't have a world if we're not free. If people aren't free and countries aren't free, and that gets into geopolitics. And one of the areas that I have that I tend to follow a lot is Michael's newsletter. He's a Green Beret Special Forces person who became a combat correspondent, and he goes all over the world. And one of his things right now is looking for hotspots and world trends and international migration. We have the great migration of people coming across our southern border in the United States, just uninhibited, and that was intentional. And he follows these around the world, and they're intentional to do that, to dilute countries, to lose their identity. And if a country doesn't have an identity, then it can't remain strong over time. So I always you'll see some links to Michael's newsletters, especially around the Panama Canal. My grandfather helped build the Panama Canal, and that's one of the choke points around the world that is so important. And with the Chinese Communist Party building a bridge down there. They took over Hong Kong, so they own two ends. Well, there's two ends of the operating systems at either end of the Panama Canal. So we're a world that we take things for granted, and we could be shut down pretty quickly. So I am all for nationhood, for countries being their country, and so that I have links there. So my name is Kirk Hamilton. You can scan through the article again on the title was Did the COVID vaccine increase mortality from all causes compared to those not vaccinated between April 21 and May 2023? An interview with Jarle Aarstad, PhD. Excellent article, and still pointing to another article that points to the concern about the COVID vaccine and its harm, and it should be pulled off the market a long time ago. All right. I'll talk to you soon. You have a wonderful day.